Welcome back. Let's read this one.
GeForce 6 series. 4 GeForce cards with a model number of 6x0, see GeForce 600 series. The GeForce 6 series, codename NV40, is the sixth generation of NVIDIA's GeForce line of graphics processing units. Launched on the 14th of April, 2004, the GeForce 6 family introduced pure video post-processing for video, SLI technology, and shader model 3.0 support, compliant with Microsoft DirectX 9.0c specification and OpenGL 2.0. GeForce 6 series features, edit. SLI, edit. Main article, Scalable Link Interface. The Scalable Link Interface, SLI, allows two GeForce 6 cards of the same type to be connected in tandem. The driver software balances the workload between the cards. SLI capability is limited to select members of the GeForce 6 family, 6500 and above. SLI is only available for cards utilizing the PCI Express bus. NVIDIA Pure Video Technology, edit. Main article, NVIDIA Pure Video. NVIDIA Pure Video Technology is the combination of a dedicated video processing core and software which decodes H.264, VC1, WMV, and MPEG-2 videos with reduced CPU utilization. Shader Model 3.0, edit. NVIDIA was the first to deliver Shader Model 3.0, SM3, capability in its GPUs. SM3 extends SM2 in a number of ways: standard FP32, 32-bit floating point, precision, dynamic branching, increased efficiency and longer shader lengths are the main additions. Shader Model 3.0 was quickly adopted by game developers because it was quite simple to convert existing shaders coded with SM2.0/2.0/2.0b to version 3.0, and it offered noticeable performance improvements across the entire GeForce 6 line. Caveats, edit. Pure video functionality varies by model, with some models lacking WMV9 and / or H.264 acceleration. In addition, motherboards with some VIA and CIS chipsets and an AMD Athlon XP processor seemingly have compatibility problems with the GeForce 6600 and 6800 GPUs. Problems that have been known to arise are freezing, artifacts, reboots, and other issues that make gaming and use of 3D applications almost impossible. These problems seem to happen only on direct 3D-based applications and do not affect OpenGL. GeForce 6 series comparison, edit. Here is how the released versions of the GeForce 6 series family compare to NVIDIA's previous flagship GPU, the GeForce FX 5950 Ultra, in addition to the comparable units of ATI's newly released for the time Radeon X800 and X850 series. GeForce FX 5950 Ultra, GeForce 6200 TC32, GeForce 6600 GT, GeForce 6800 Ultra, ATI Radeon X800 XT-Pay, ATI Radeon X850 XT-Pay. Transistor count 135,077,146,160,160,160,000. Manufacturing process 0.13 micrometer, 0.11 micrometer, 0.11 micrometer, 0.13 micrometer, 0.13 micrometer locate, 0.13 micrometer locate. Die area, millimeter squared. tilde 200 110 156 288 288 297. Core clock speed, megahertz, 475 350 500 400 520 540. Number of pixel shader processors 448 16 16 16. Number of pixel pipes 448 16 16 16. Number of texturing units 8, 16 asterisk, 48 16 16 16. Number of vertex pipelines 3 asterisk 33666. Peak pixel fill rate, theoretical, 1.9 gigapixel /s 700 megapixel /s 2.0 gigapixel /s 6.4 gigapixel /s 8.32 gigapixel /s 8.64 gigapixel /s. Peak texture fill rate, theoretical, 3.8 gigatexel /s 1.4 gigatexel /s 4.0 gigatexel /s 6.4 gigatexel /s 8.32 gigatexel /s 8.64 gigatexel /s. Memory interface 256-bit 64-bit 128-bit 256-bit 256-bit 256-bit. Memory clock speed 950 MHz DDR 700 MHz DDR2 1.0 GHz / 950 MHz asterisk asterisk GDDR3 1.1 GHz GDDR3 1.12 GHz GDDR3 1.18 GHz GDDR3. Peak memory bandwidth GIB / S 30.45.6 16.0 / 14.4 asterisk asterisk 35.2 35.84 37.76 asterisk. GeForce FX series has an array-based vertex shader. Asterisk asterisk AGP 6600 GT variant. GeForce 6800 series. Edit. The first family in the GeForce 6 product line, the 6800 series catered to the high-performance gaming market. As the very first GeForce 6 model, the 16-pixel pipeline GeForce 6800 Ultra, NV40, was 2 to 2.5 times faster than NVIDIA's previous top-line product, the GeForce FX 5950 Ultra, packed 4 times the number of pixel pipelines, twice the number of texture units and added a much improved pixel shader architecture. Yet, the 6800 Ultra was fabricated on the same IBM 130nm process node as the FX 5950, and it consumed slightly less power. Like all of NVIDIA's GPUs up until 2004, initial 6800 members were designed for the AGP bus. NVIDIA added support for the PCI Express (PCIe) bus in later GeForce 6 products, usually by use of an AGP-PCI bridge chip. In the case of the 6800 GT and 6800 Ultra, NVIDIA developed a variant of the NV40 chip called the NV45. The NV45 shares the same die core as the NV40, but embeds an AGP-PCI bridge on the chip's package. Internally, the NV45 is an AGP NV40 with added bus translation logic, to permit interfacing with a PCIe motherboard. Externally, the NV45 is a single package with 2 separate silicon dies clearly visible on the top. NV48 is a version of NV45 which supports 512 MB RAM. The use of an AGP-PSI bridge chip initially led to fears that natively AGP GPUs would not be able to take advantage of the additional bandwidth offered by PCIe and would therefore be at a disadvantage relative to native PCIe chips. However, benchmarking reveals that even AGP4 is fast enough that most contemporary games do not improve significantly in performance when switched to AGP8, rendering the further bandwidth increase provided by PCIe largely superfluous. Additionally, NVIDIA's onboard implementations of AGP are clocked at AGP12 or 16, providing bandwidth comparable to PCIe for the rare situations when this bandwidth is actually necessary. The use of a bridge chip allowed NVIDIA to release a full complement of PCIe graphics cards without having to redesign them for the PCIe interface. Later, when NVIDIA's GPUs were designed to use PCIe natively, the bidirectional bridge chip allowed them to be used in AGP cards. ATI, initially a critic of the bridge chip, eventually designed a similar solution, known as Rialto, for their own cards. NVIDIA's professional Quadro line contains members drawn from the 6800 series, Quadro FX 4000, AGP, and the Quadro FX 3400, 4400 and 4400G, both PCI Express. The 6800 series was also incorporated into laptops with the GeForce Go 6800 and Go 6800 Ultra GPUs. Pure Video and the AGP GeForce 6800, edit. Pure Video expanded the level of multimedia video support from decoding of MPEG-2 video to decoding of more advanced codecs, MPEG-4. WMV9, enhanced post-processing, advanced deinterlacing, and limited acceleration for encoding. But perhaps ironically, the first GeForce product, to offer pure video, the AGP GeForce 6800/GT/Ultra, failed to support all of Pure Video's advertised features. Media Player Software, WMP9, with support for WMV acceleration did not become available until several months after the 6800's introduction. User and web reports showed little if any difference between Pure Video-enabled GeForces and non-Pure Video cards. The prolonged public silence of NVIDIA, after promising updated drivers, and test benchmarks gathered by users led the user community to conclude that the WMV9 decoder component of the AGP 6800's Pure Video unit is either non-functional or intentionally disabled. In late 2005, an update to NVIDIA's website finally confirmed what had long been suspected by the user community. WMV acceleration is not available on the AGP 6800. Of course, today's computers are fast enough to play and decode WMV9 video and other sophisticated codecs like MPEG-4, H.264 or VP8 without hardware acceleration, thus negating the need for something like Pure Video. GeForce 6 Series General Features, edit. 4, 8, 12, or 16 pixel pipeline GPU architecture. Up to 8x more shading performance compared to the previous generation. CineFX 3.0 engine, DirectX 9 shader model 3.0 support. On-chip video processor, Pure Video. Full MPEG-2 encoding and decoding at GPU level, Pure Video. Advanced adaptive deinterlacing, Pure Video. DDR and GDDR3 memory on a 256-bit wide memory interface. Ultra Shadow 2 technology, 3x to 4x faster than NV35, GeForce FX 5900. High Precision Dynamic Range, HPDR, technology. 1 to 8-bit studio precision through the entire pipeline, floating point 32-bit color precision. IntelliSample 4.0 technology, 16x anisotropic filtering, rotating grid anti-aliasing and transparency anti-aliasing, see here. Maximum display resolution of 2048 x 1536 at 85 Hz. Video scaling and filtering, HQ filtering techniques up to HD TV resolutions. Integrated TV encoder, TV output up to 1024 x 768 resolutions. OpenGL 2.0 optimizations and support. DVC 3.0, digital vibrance control. Dual 400 MHz IM DACs which support QXGA displays up to 2048 x 1536 at 85 Hz. Dual DVI outputs on select members, implementation depends on the card manufacturer. 6800 chipset table, edit. Board name core type core. Megahertz, memory. Megahertz, pipeline. Config vertex. Processor's memory. Interface. 6800 Ultra NV40/NV45/NV48 400 550 16/6256 bit. 6800 GT NV40/NV45/NV48 350 500 16/6256 bit. 6800 XT NV42 450 612 5256 bit. 6800 GTS NV42 425 512 5256 bit. 6800 GS NV40 350 512 5256 bit. 6800 GTO NV40/NV45 350 450 12 5256 bit. 6800 NV44/NV41/NV42 325 300 350 12 5256 bit. 6800 Go NV41M 300 312 5256 bit. 6800 Go Ultra NV41M 0.13U /NV42M 0.11U 450 612 5256 bit. 6800 XENV4275 /300 325 266 358 3128 bit. 6800 LA NV40 300 358 4256 bit. Notes, edit. 1. The limited supply GeForce 6800 Ultra Extreme Edition was shipped with a 450 MHz core clock and, usually, a 1200 MHz memory clock, but was otherwise identical to a common 6800 Ultra. 2. The GeForce 6800 GS is cheaper to manufacture and has a lower MSRP than the GeForce 6800 GT because it has fewer pipelines and is fabricated on a smaller process, 110 vs 130 nm, but performance is similar because it has a faster core clock. The AGP version, however, uses the original NV40 chip and 6800 GT circuit board, and the inactive pixel and vertex pipelines may potentially be unlockable. However, the PCI Express version lacks them entirely, preventing such modifications. 3. The 6800 GTO, which was produced only as an OEM card, contains 4 masked pixel pipelines and 1 masked vertex shader, which are potentially unlockable. For the GeForce 6800 is often unofficially called the GeForce 6800 Vanilla or the GeForce 6800 New, for non-ultra, to distinguish it from the other models. Recent PCIe variants have the NV41, IBM 0.13 micrometer, or NV42, TSMC 0.11 micrometer, cores, which are native PCIe implementations and do not have an integrated AGP bridge chip. The AGP version of the video card contains 4 masked pixel pipelines and 1 masked vertex shader, which are potentially unlockable through software mods. PCI Express 6800 cards are incapable of such modifications, because the masked pixel pipelines and vertex buffers are non-existent. 5. The 6800 XT varies greatly depending on manufacturer. It is produced using 3 cores, NV40/NV41/NV42, 4 memory configurations, 128 MB DDR, 256 MB DDR, 128 MB GDDR3, 256 MB GDDR3, and 512 MB GDDR2, and has clock speeds ranging from 300 to 425 MHz, core, and 600 to 1000 MHz, memory. 6800 XT cards based on the NV40 core contain 8 masked pixel pipelines and 2 masked vertex shaders, and those based on the NV42 core contain 4 masked pipelines and 1 masked shader. For some reason, the NV42 cards are almost never unlockable. It is speculated that the pipelines are being laser cut. 6. The 6800 LA contains 8 masked pixel pipelines and 2 masked vertex shaders, which are potentially unlockable. 7. The AGP version of the 6800 series does not have support for 2D acceleration in Adobe Reader/Acrobat 9.0 even though the GeForce AGP 6600 and PCIe 6800 versions do. GeForce 6600 series, edit. The GeForce 6600, NV43, was officially launched on the 12th of August, 2004, several months after the launch of the 6800 Ultra. With half the pixel pipelines and vertex shaders of the 6800 GT, and a smaller 128-bit memory bus, the lower performance and lower cost 6600 is the mainstream product of the GeForce 6 series. The 6600 series retains the core rendering features of the 6800 series, including SLI. Equipped with fewer rendering units, the 6600 series processes pixel data at a slower rate than the more powerful 6800 series. However, the reduction in hardware resources, and migration to TSMC's 110nm manufacturing process, versus the 6800's 130nm process, make the 6600 both less expensive for NVIDIA to manufacture and less expensive for customers to purchase. Their 6600 series currently has 3 variants: the GeForce 6600 LA, the 6600, and the 6600 GT, in order from slowest to fastest. The 6600 GT performs quite a bit better than the GeForce FX 5950 Ultra or Radeon 9800 XT, with the 6600 GT scoring around 8000 in 3D Mark 03, while the GeForce FX 5950 Ultra scored around 6000, and it is also much cheaper. Notably, The 6600 GT offered identical performance to ATI's high-end X800 Pro graphics card with drivers previous December 2004, when running the popular game Doom 3. It was also about as fast as the higher-end GeForce 6800 when running games without anti-aliasing in most scenarios. At introduction, the 6600 family was only available in PCI Express form. AGP models became available roughly a month later, through the use of NVIDIA's AGP PCI Bridge chip. A majority of the AGP GeForce 6600 GTS have their memory clocked at 900 MHz, which is 100 MHz slower than the PCIe cards, on which the memory operates at 1000 MHz. This can contribute to a performance decline when playing certain games. However, it was often possible to overclock the memory to its nominal frequency of 1000 MHz, and there are AGP cards, for example from XFX, that use 1000 MHz by default. 6600 chipset table, edit. Board name core type core. Megahertz, memory. Megahertz, pipeline. Config vertex. Processors memory. Interface. 6700 XL NV43 525 1108 3128-bit. 6600 GT GDDR3 NV43 500 900/1008 3128-bit. 6600 XL NV43 400 808 3128-bit. 6600 DDR2 NV43 350 808 3128-bit. 6600 NV43 300 500/558 3128-bit. 6600 LA NV43 300 500/4 3128-bit. Other data for PCI Express based cards. 1 memory interface, 128-bit. 2 memory bandwidth, 16.0 GB/s. 3 fill rate, pixels/s.4.0 billion. 4 vertices per second, 375 million. 5 memory data rate, 1000 MHz. 6 pixels per clock, peak 8. 7 IMDACs, 400 MHz. Other data for AGP-based cards. 1 memory interface, 128-bit. 2 memory bandwidth, 14.4 GB/s. 3 fill rate, pixels/s.4.0 billion. 4 vertices per second, 375 million. 5 memory data rate, 900 MHz. 6 pixels per clock, peak 8. 7 IMDACs 400 MHz. GeForce 6500, edit. The GeForce 6500 was released in October 2005 and is based on the same NV44 core as the value/budget, low-end or entry-level, GeForce 6200 TC, but with a higher GPU clock speed and more memory. The GeForce 6500 also supports SLI. GeForce 6500, edit. 1 core clock, 450 MHz. 2 memory clock, 700 MHz. 3 pixel pipelines, 4. 4 number of OPs, 2. 5 vertex processors, 3. 6 memory, 128/256 MB DDR on a 64-bit interface. 7 fill rate, pixels/s 1.6 billion. 8 vertices per second, 300 million. 9 effective memory bandwidth, GB/S 13.44. GeForce 6200, edit. With just 4 pixel pipelines, the 6200 series forms NVIDIA's value/budget, low-end or entry-level, product. The 6200 omits memory compression and SLI support, but otherwise offers similar rendering features as the 6600S. The later 6200 boards were based on the NV44 Core S, which is the final production silicon for the 6200 series. The 6200 is the only card in the series to feature keying for 3.3 VAGP slots, barring some rare exceptions of higher-end cards from vendors like PN